It is another Tuesday. In fact, it's the very last Tuesday in the month of September. My goodness, we're almost ready to start singing Christmas songs. I'm actually singing them already, but anyway, I want to welcome you today, this afternoon. It's a very special day. Today's topic is entitled A Conversation on Knowing What Is and What Is Not Kingdom Business. My friend Xochitl Rodriguez is back. She's a wonderful business consultant. She's a author. She is a corporate exec, and she's a co-host of mine on Divinely Designed 21st Century Women, which comes on Monday nights. And she has some interest in his leadership. And I thank you for his heart, that you, being his father, are the one that heals it. We worship you and we praise you for that. I thank you for the audience that is today. I also thank you for Pastor Araceli, walking with him, and just all of the folks, Father. And just, that's just very important to us, that the spirit of joy takes place of the spirit of grief, but we still have the experiences that we do. But I thank you for the blessing of being in you in these times that are so challenging to us all. And Father, I also thank you for the hearers, the listeners, the participators of today's conversation. I thank you for their hearts. I thank you for their sensitivity to your spirit. And I thank you for the questing that is amongst your people. We want to know this. We want to walk in this. We want to manifest this so that your kingdom is seen and known in the earth. And so we bless you and we praise you and thank you for that in Jesus' name. Amen. Sochi, I want to welcome you back. So come on in, my friend. And
Hi.
there you are. Hello there. It's a long time no see. It's been at least what, 2 minutes. So or thereabouts. So welcome back to Kingdom Conversations with me. And why don't you, for the sake of those, and by the way, people, hi, Pastor Mark Fox. It's good to see you. And for the rest of you, we're doing roll call. So Sochi, why don't you refresh the memories of people and just kind of get them acquainted with who you are, especially in terms of this particular conversation. And then we're going to see where we go.
Yes, thank you. So I have been in business I actually started in business out of frustration because it was a problem that the gym that I used to go to was always opening up late. And so to solve that problem, I opened one. But so I've been in business since 2003. So going on 20 years. Yeah, 20 years. So it's been a wonderful journey. There's definitely been a lot of tears, a lot of frustrations, a lot of ups and downs. And since learning to walk in the kingdom, business has been different. My mindset has been very different. And so it's no longer everything that I learned in the world or how to run business or either through books or courses or mentors. But now business has taken on a very completely different stance. And the way I do business has definitely been changing. And it's interesting to try to decipher, is this kingdom? Is this not? And sometimes walking into things, thinking I'm doing the right thing, thinking I'm doing the kingdom way of business, and then finding out I was about to step on mine lands. So, or landmines. But that's a little bit about me and a little bit about what we'll be talking through today.
Okay. Well, we are going to talk a little bit, from Divinely Designed, and I think a lot of our audience watches both programs, so I feel comfortable with referring to that. But it was about a month or so ago now, really it was August, when we went to the retreat, the business retreat in North Carolina. And the different things that, as I said back then, we got an opportunity to see one another, women that we talk to on a weekly basis. And we got an opportunity to see each other in a different light, because one of the things about relationships with people is that they can be kind of one dimensional unless we add layers to it. And so we will know friends from, as you said, the gym. There are gym buddies, and maybe occasionally there are coffee buddies as well, but they're not really overall friends because we're not in each other's lives. And I equate that with what rooms in a house you're allowed to go into. Some people, they can come into your home and they're strictly living room people. They don't move, or great room, or whichever room it is where you house regular company, and they don't really get to venture too far. You bring things from the kitchen for them. They're not welcome in the kitchen. And then maybe the relationship grows. There's another dimension to it. And now you get to see them in the kitchen. So you're seeing how they act or at a table and so forth. And that was exactly the type of thing that happened with all of us, is we got to see each other literally in the kitchen and in the different rooms of the house we were in, but also the dimensions in the gatherings as you were taking us through the different workshops or segments. We would hear about knowledge that others had that we didn't know they had. And I think that that is amazing because it was a mix. It was a mix of what we knew from a worldly perspective or how we've done business before. And then it started to filter in with within the kingdom, the way that you think about how you do what you do is going to have to shift, because we're not talking about world wealth. We're talking about kingdom wealth. And it doesn't come from the same source. World wealth comes from the things of the world and the labor of your hands, the hard labor, and sometimes manipulating and shifting around and thinking in terms of keeping everything that's yours, guarding all of your secrets closely, not letting anybody in, borrowing from wherever you need to, getting the right hookup. But in the kingdom, it's very different. And since we're talking about wealth being sourced from God and from God showing us the hidden places in the earth where it can be found, it has a a spiritual principle attached to it that is at the highest realm. It doesn't come from the same mindset. And so you, I think, have had some very interesting opportunities, even in the last month or so, taking what it is that you've known and having to, in some sense, let's do a Dr. Baker, Apostle Baker, flushing it, because it's not any longer going to be viable for you've traded the idea of just getting rich to shifting over to developing kingdom wealth. It's not the same mindset. So I'm going to give you some room to just kind of share some things with us and, open up our understanding, and then we'll kind of dive in. Before so, I want to say greetings to Apostle Tracy Carson. And we also want to say hi. There's my Mary Kay lady, Miss Sherry Earhart. Hello to you. And also to our wonderful friend and sister, Geneva, Miss Jenny. So anyway, Sochi, take the floor and, ask me if I went too broad. I tried not to.
Too late.
Tried to stay on one focus this time.
Well, I'll start where you can redirect me. Yeah. One of the ways I've always thought is the more I can teach the people I'm around, the better my life's going to be. Right. So when I was in the world and had my businesses, I always was grooming my employees into management. And it was twofold. Part of it was me being selfish, that I didn't want to get caught without a manager. And two, I wanted to, well, actually a few reasons too. I wanted to create some level of competition, that they would strive for the management position. And three, the more they knew, the more they'd be able to cross train and help each other. And the more money they'd be able to make. Because if I was making more money, they were going to make more money. So I always incentivized them. So I've always been from the thought of being able to share knowledge. And I see that in the world, people are not like that. Even for something like a recipe, people will hold on to their recipes. They don't want anybody to know. They guard them. It's like, oh, what'd you put in it? Why? Why are you asking? It's like, because it tastes good, to bring up conversation while we're eating. I have no interest in learning how to cook the specific dish, but just as a piece of conversation. But people get guarded with certain information that they think is only theirs. And to me, like I said, it's always been the opposite. So the more I can share, and I'd rather do it in small groups than to do it one-on-one. Because one-on-one, it's fine, I'll do it. But when I can do it in groups, to me, it's more fun, because then everybody can learn from each other. And as you shared, there were skills that came out. There were talents, there were interests, hobbies, all kinds of things that we didn't know about each other. And through having these, business conversations, we were able to learn so much more about each one of us and be able to share. And in some cases, walk us through certain situations and laugh through others and share some of our past. So it seems to me that the more we share willingly without any ulterior motives, the more fun it becomes. Because one of the things that y'all have taught me is that it's not about this one-on-one relationship. It really is about the relationship with God. And so I don't want to do things for someone to pay me. I want to do it to glorify God. Because there ain't no human on earth that's going to ever be able to give me what God can give me. And so that's been a lot of fun to put it on God, if I put it that way. It's like, let me just put this on God. It's like, this is for you. And then checking in, is this what you wanted? Did I please you? Did I do enough? And that was one of the things that came up for me with one of our friends that was online. I didn't feel I gave her enough. And that bothered me for a while because it's like, I don't know, it's like it just seemed like there was more, but there was nothing else that was coming to me to share at the moment. But in my wanting to give them and wanting to, like, here's your plan for the next 5 years, give them more than they can take, because I wanna let them know there's always more available for them. I was like, okay, you do these steps and then there'll be more. And then you're going to grow into these other areas. And one of the other conversations that I thought was really interesting is that many people think, okay, this is my business, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how it's going to end for me. And with me, the moment we start talking about a business, it's like, what's the exit plan? What is our exit strategy? Because for me, when we start a business, that's what we're going to do for a while, until the next business, until the next opportunity, until God moves us into a different position, until we gift that to somebody else. Not always selling a business. Sometimes it's just gifting it to somebody. So, okay, here, you take it over, you do more with this, or you do what's next with this business. So it makes it fun to be able to come from a place of no limitations. Because it's not who's going to pay me or who's going to reward me. I know where that's going to come from.
That's so good. I thought it was funny because you and I have been doing this now for about, I think, what's about 2 years,
Yes.
talking back and forth. And I could say that one of the saddest things that I think, and this is when it's not a kingdom business, is when your imagination has no place in it. Meaning that a lot of times people will, well, here's the strict business plan according to the school I went to. We've written everything down. This is the way it's going to be. It may as well be a business in a box, or a franchise type of thing. And there's no variation, which is not true. Actually, you're supposed to use your own individual giftings and abilities to put your signature, to put your stamp on it. But I noticed that a lot of times people do things by rote. Same thing in ministry, and unfortunately in a lot of relationships too. The imagination goes dormant, because people get caught in a role or a position and they think that that's all there is to it. The limitations that are developed by others start to try to find a way to intrude into your own dream, or into, I don't even like so much to call it my dream as it is the dream that God gave me, that's actually originated from him, and he wants to use his imagination through me to be able to expand it out, and to take it some amazing places. And when we were in North Carolina, after all these years of me saying, okay, this is what I do with my publishing and editorial consulting and so forth, I thought it was so funny that we were sparking each other's imagination so much that I sat there and realized the publishing side is not my business side. It's my ministry business. It's my ministry side, because I specialize in ministers, fivefold ministers and intercessors, or what have you. I specialize in helping them to do this thing, to complete their course. So that's me coming alongside of. I still charge for it because you're paying for my talents, but I mean, not my talents, but you're paying for my skill set, what I actually went to school for, and so forth. but I can give a lot more because I'm able to give of my gifts and give them very freely. There's no price to that. But as we were talking, and as you said, listening to the other women there and the way they were sparking, and even some things that have happened to me since then. It started actually in North Carolina and came back to California with me, and I've been sparking ever since. Was the fact that I came alive again to the desire to do the production side and my imagination soars, and then to do the writing of the books that I have been sent here to write. And as you know, it's like it's my tagline for Dominion Unlimited is come back and then we do this and then we do that. So every project has a finish, and then it's connection, it's a door that opens to something else. And so that's what I thought was so amazing. I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was sharing just kind of the same thing. And I was like, and then it could do this. And I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about this. And the feedback I got was one of the most marvelous statements that I've ever heard anybody say. And it was, isn't imagination wonderful? Because it comes from God.
Yes.
And that sparked me yet again. It's like we infuse each other with this, hey, what else have you got? And what else do you have? And what else do you have? And I hope that's what you inspire people that are watching us today, that you or watching later, to inspire them to start asking those what if questions. So let's talk about that a little bit. Remember, we read a book. Oh, what is it? 4 years ago now. I believe it was called What If, and it was Pastor Tommy. Mm, Name is slipping my mind right now, but I'll come back to it. Promise. But the book was called What If? And we took that phrase because he used it a lot in the things that he was saying. And I'll look it up to put it down there. But we looked and we started using that phrase. And then you took it in one direction. I use it kind of differently. But what about that? How do you apply what if to a kingdom business that starts to make it unique or more fun or what? I think you got it. I'll be quiet.
So the book was before my time, so I didn't get to read it as with the corporate, but I love the concept of what if, and I think that just speaks to the importance of who we surround ourselves with, right? Because if we surround ourselves with naysayers, it's very easy for us to fall into that naysaying lifestyle. But when we're around people that do want to ask the what if questions and want to play, and it's like, what if we could do this? What if we could buy an entire block and then change this into this, and then open up the school in the back, and then have the daycare over here, and then do this over there, and you start having fun with it. And then the more fun we have, the more of a reality it becomes. You said about you reminded me this Sunday I turned in a business plan, and it's a formal business plan. And when they told me they wanted a business plan, that was not part of my plan. I didn't plan on writing out a business plan, but I took it serious. I didn't take it for granted that I have the experience or this, that, or the other. I really did my research on the city and just went through as if I had a blank sheet of paper, just like our apostle teaches us. I started this business plan with a blank sheet of paper as if I knew nothing. And it allowed me to see so many possibilities, because in doing my research, I saw the population for the city where the business is at. I saw how many businesses that city has. I got to see the diversity. I got to see so much that by the time I was writing it, like, the current business owner doesn't see any of those possibilities. For whatever reason, that excitement for them is gone. And that just opened up Alexa thinks I'm talking to her. But for whatever reason, they let go of that dream. They let go of all those possibilities. They let go of what drove them to initially get that business. And because they chose to go into numbness, it opened up an opportunity for me and my brother and others that are possibly joining in on this business to see that and see like this could really work. We could turn the store into $1 million store. And how long will it take? And what if we do this? And what if we do that? And playing. And even within the business plan, I wrote during the summary at the very end of my business plan, I wrote, this is the business plan according to paper. But once this business plan is in place, opportunities will come up that are not yet identified or are not yet seen. So this business plan is the plan, but knowing that there is flexibility to be able to take advantages of opportunities that come our way. And I specifically wrote that in the business plan, which I don't know if that's customary or not, but that's the reality. That's the reality of having that flexibility to say, okay, this is where I think I'm going, but then other things, I expect God to do other things that I don't yet see. And so it's like, okay, then we'll move in that direction. That may lead, go ahead.
No, you, please.
So that leads me into a little bit of a different topic or a different avenue where when we start to do something, we have to be able to listen to what God is telling us to do. And if it's not what we thought, we get to choose. Do we yield to what God is telling us to do, or are we going to be stubborn and do it the way we've always done it, or do it the way I wrote that I was going to do it? You know, that's where we get to show God how much we trust him, how much we love him. And sometimes those decisions are very difficult to make, or they appear to be difficult, because if we don't see it, then we can be getting ourselves into trouble. But being able to yield to what God is calling us to do and move in the direction he's calling us to do I know will lead to a much better outcome than what we could possibly come up with on our own.
I love it. You know, it's applicable in ministry as well. I'm going to give a scripture
Mhm.
reference. I'm not going to read the scriptures, but in Luke chapter 5 and John 21, believe it is, Jesus gave a directive after he had spoken and he used Simon Peter's boat. He told him to cast his net on the other side. That's the what if factor. The book, by the way, is called What If, and it's a testimony about using his imagination and asking God stuff. It was written by Pastor Tommy Barnett. So it's still available on Amazon. I have my Kindle version and my hard copy version, but it's actually literally called What If, and the author is Tommy Barnett. And he tells about some incredible testimonies. I really do recommend it. Apostle Baker likes to give us books to read. We call them books of the month, but typically we only get like one or two a year. So it takes a while to get, as you know, we go through books. But this concept, I saw this years ago, but it's so interesting. And I love this thing about God that he will give you what is basically, he will reveal something to you and you will speak it out, not knowing what it is you say. I mean, I prophesied about the kingdom of God 5, 10 years before I ever started even learning about the kingdom of God, let alone teaching about the kingdom of God. And my typical way of saying, your kingdom come, your will be done. Some say King James Version, but for me, it's been always your kingdom because I'm having that conversation. But I was saying it because he's prophesying through you, but you don't really know what you're saying at that time other than to be obedient as to speak it, because the Lord is prepared. There's a road, there's a map that it's a route you've never been before, but the words are being spoken to prepare the pathway for you to go a way you've never gone before. And to cast your nets on the other side is to use the what ifs. It's to look at the situation as you've been trained for it, as you know it. I know this about taking a city. I know this about building a business. I know this about writing a plan. I know this about composing music or worship or ministry. But what I don't know is the what if side. I don't yet know about using my imagination to see the impossible as the possible. and to change, to get impossible out of my vocabulary and therefore out of my thinking, and it won't come across my lips anymore, because I only think in terms of what is possible. Because when I ask pose the question, what if, I ask it with the clear intention of following the path that it takes me on, because it's going to be so much more fun. What if we could? And we like to use the story, we've used it more than once. Bob Proctor was retelling a story. It's referred to as the 333 factor, or 333 story. And basically, they were posing a question, and these were not Christian people, but they were thinkers. And it was, if we want to solve a problem for something that's happening, I believe it was in Canada, what if we could do this in three, do these three, raise this much in this period of time over doing such and such? How would we do it? And what I remember him asking, and you and I have talked about this before, maybe I can find it this time, but the question that was most powerful in that whole thing was that he said, I don't want to know, here it is. He said, the question that was being asked is, I don't want you to tell me that we can't do it. I don't even want you to give me the reasons why we can't. I simply want you to do it. Here it is. It's there was a disaster that had happened in Ontario, or they were doing things that were happening in Canada, and so all of these broadcasting people came together, and so it says he called this man Bob Templeton, I believe it was. He called all of these folks, executives, into his office, and at the top of a flip chart in bold letters, he wrote the three numeral, three threes, three, three, three. And he said to the executives, how would you like to raise $3 million 3 days from now in just 3 hours and give the money to the people in Barrie? And there was nothing but silence in the room. And he said, somebody told him he was crazy. There's no way it can be done, and so forth. He said, I didn't ask you if we could or even if we should. I just asked you if you would like to. That's the connection to what if. Would you like to do it? Because if God gives you a what if question, God also gives you an opening. There's like a portal of knowledge from heaven that opens up in you that you never had before, because you never knocked at that door. I think it's Dr. Miles Monroe that was quoted as saying, God will tell you all kinds of stuff, but the thing is that you don't ask him. So the knowledge never comes to you because you don't ask for it. And so here's the bottom part of the story. He said, I didn't ask you if we could or even if we should. I just asked you if you'd like to. And then it says that he said he was appealing to their charity. They said, yeah, we'd like to. So then he says, okay. On one side, he wrote why we can't. So there was like a big T. And on one side, he wrote why we can't. And then on the other, he wrote these three words: how we can. And that's what shifts the thinking into kingdom mode. He says, why we can't, he put an X. And he said, there's no place to record the ideas of why we can't do it. We don't need to think of how we can't raise $3 million in 3 hours, 3 days from now. He says, regardless of how valid they are, we're not going to talk about that. He says, when anybody calls out an idea which suggests why we can't, then you all need to yell next, because we're not thinking that way. And then he said, we're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep saying next, because he knew they had to get them out until we start to get to the how. And so what they did is they kept going, they kept going, they kept going. And bottom line, they achieved it. They raised $3 million in 3 hours, 3 days from the time that they came up with the idea. Because when you only focus on what God says is possible, then you're going to achieve what the world calls the impossible. So how have you learned those type of lessons? Because I've seen you start applying this. That's how I use what if. Um, but I see it in ministry. I see it in all of these different areas. If people would simply give up their knowledge of how the world works and start to take on the knowledge of how the kingdom works through us.
When I had when I had multiple businesses, I had acquired them pretty quickly. And I had to figure out, how am I going to make payroll? How am I going to make rent? And how am I going to pay for the cost of goods? And I was not born from above. And I sat in my apartment, empty apartment. There were like 2 pillows that I slept on, or 3, 2 that I slept on. One was my head pillow. That was the only thing in the apartment. And I sat there crying, having a conversation with God the best way that I knew how. And I asked him, how is this going to happen? You opened the doors for me to be here. I didn't look for this opportunity. You put it in front of me. How am I going to do this? I had maybe 40 employees scattered throughout like six stores at that time. I didn't want to have the conversation with those people saying, hey, I couldn't figure it out, so you no longer have a job. I wasn't going to go to the vendors and say, I know I asked you for credit so that I can have this fruit and I can have the cost, I have the goods that I need to resell, but I messed up and now you're not going to get paid. And I wasn't going to go to those landlords and say, I don't have the money to pay you and I'm on the hook for the next 5 to 10 years. All right? Like, those were not options. So it was me sitting there crying, pleading with God. It's like, show me, how is this going to happen? What am I supposed to do? It was like, and I didn't have a major revelation. God didn't say, oh, you're going to do this and that. No, I cried myself to sleep that night. That was the best I could do. But I had that faith that he put me there. And I relied on him. And this is without me knowing anything about kingdom. This was just me as ignorant as can be, as sinful as you can imagine, doing all kinds of stuff, but pleading with him. How? It's like, what am I supposed to do? Am I doing the right thing? These people that I was firing left and right for theft, people that I was training, and it all worked out. And not only did it work out, we were able, like, God really had his hand upon all those businesses, upon those people, upon the profit. The money was coming in, the people were getting raises. It worked out, but it really took conscious focus on how. Now my questions are who. My question is no longer how. My question is now who, because where you and my apostle have taken me, I no longer ask how. I ask who. Who are the people? But that was the best I could do then. And it worked out because of the blessing that God had, not only for me, but for all the people that were involved. And so in those challenging times, that when we really get tested with our faith, that God, I believe you. God, you told me to do this. This is what I'm doing. What's next? And really just not considering and not entertaining the devilish thoughts. Like learning to just not have those conversations. They try to come in. I mean, even to this day, it's like they try coming in as like, oh, you don't know what you're doing. Oh, you suck. Oh, da, da, da. You're just like, nope, that's not God. I might not have done the best thing, but that's not God. And really learning for me, it's really been learning to like try to catch it as early as I can so that I don't spiral downhill. Because if I spiral downhill, I could take others with me. And I don't want to do that. And when I mentioned about this store and the possibility of making it $1 million store, it's not for the purpose of $1 million. It really is for the purpose. How many people can we employ? There are 2 people employed in that store right now. That's it, 2 people. And so it's like, how many people can we employ? How busy can we make this location? Who are we going to train as a manager? Who's the one that we're going to profit share with? Minimum wage is, I don't know, like $17 or whatever it is. What can we start the people at? And how can we advance them to the next levels? And who's going to get trained to do this? And so asking those types of questions and keeping the focus on what is. When our apostle first told me or spoke over my life and said that I was to help bring billions into the kingdom of God, That frightened me. And of course, my then question was, how am I going to do that? How is that going to happen, right? And so I've become and continue to become far more comfortable with that idea and the excitement of being able to ask God, show me, direct me. Who are the people? And I do ask the how, how, which avenue am I supposed to be on? Because otherwise I could be down a completely different path and the billions could be over here and I could be somewhere else. So being able to have people in my life that I can go to, such as yourself and our apostle, because I know that you are going to guide me properly. See, in the world, before meeting you all, I couldn't talk to a lot of people about my ideas because they were very quick to shut them down. And so I learned, and it was for what they thought was my protection. They were doing it for my good, to not have me be disappointed later because they loved me, because they wanted to keep me in this crystal box or whatever their stories were. I believe it was for good intentions, but nonetheless, I learned to stop talking to people about my ideas and what I wanted to do because I wasn't getting the support from those people. And I knew they loved me, but it's like, nah, if I listen to you, I would still be a teacher. I would still be living in the first house I lived. I'd be part of the stills. And there's nothing wrong with being a teacher. It was just, I had reached my expiration date as a teacher. And so being able to like discern who can I have these conversations with? Who can I dream with? Who can I play the what if game with? And so when you find your people and you get to have these conversations of how can we do this? What if we bought a house like this and then we could use it for this, and we can have retreat centers over here, and then during the winter this can happen, and then during the summer this can happen, and it just becomes fun. And that's also been part of my journey, is to not take myself so serious, because I am a serious person. I am an introvert. And so having to sometimes play the extrovert part and sometimes having to do things that are uncomfortable, it's like I do them anyway, because the reward is so much fun to see people's smiles, to see people's life changes, to hear the comments of, oh, I'm meeting with my new employer today because someone chose to do something different. I've got this meeting with these people about this new venture that I'm looking to do. I want to organize this. So the conversations have shifted so much since we've been back from North Carolina. And that, to me, that is so rewarding to hear, that I look to God and say, like, is this a speck of what you feel when we do what you call us to do? Yeah.
That I love it. One thing you said, and some might not catch what you're referencing, but one of your bosses, he definitely uses that expression, the still people,
Yeah.
still doing the same things that they've always done the same way, still plodding along, still not dreaming, still living paycheck to paycheck, still in a self-imposed or a others imposed little narrow path that is not the narrow road that leads to the wide open places. And that was, I thought, one of the most chilling things ever. That the worst thing, that one of the most insulting things, to say that you're still the same, you're still like you always were. It's like, no, I'm really not. But I know that some people are looking for you to be the same. The other thing that you said that I thought was really cool is, it's sometimes you ask who, sometimes we ask how, sometimes we ask what if. Why? Because the right question will open the gateway to the next levels of things. And we cannot ask the same question. I cheat. I just say, Holy Spirit, what should I ask you? You know, tell me the question, the right question, because I want to go further along, because I want to know more. Who do I need to know in order to open up my imagination? And who needs to know me? Because it's never one-sided. It's I'm a resource as well as one that gets take that it get receives other sources. So it's who needs what I have, and then who's going to help me to grow so that I have more to give. And so when you ask those questions, I think sometimes people try to keep us safe because that's their limited vision of us. People say, well, I see your potential. You may see my potential, but you don't necessarily see my road. And I know that many people, Dr. Miles Monroe also made this statement, that the graveyard is just filled with some of the most brilliant ideas and solutions to problems, and all kinds of stuff, because the people never stepped out of that doldrum place, that place of, again, it's either self-imposed limitations, or it's the limitations that others have placed upon you that you never resisted, you know. And I think that that's the saddest thing, because, or it's the, I think this is one of the most ignorant things I've ever heard, when people say, well, you put God in a box. It's like, how did you grab hold of him? Tell me how you manage. What substance of God did you get that you were able to stuff into a box? You see, you never ever in your whole life put God in a box. You put you there. It was never God. So that's just one of those Pentecostal kind of expressions people like to use. It's like, no, you didn't. So quit lying, because I don't see how you were able to grab him. Did you take him by the shirt? Did you say, Holy Spirit, come over here and get in this box, because this is where I'm going to keep you? No, you never did it, because he would never permit that. Do you see? But sometimes people put you in a box and you stay. I hated those Jack in the Box things that, the do, and that thing would pop up, and I hated that thing, hated that thing. But now I'm become one of those things. You put me in a box, I guarantee you, I'm gonna pop out. I'm not gonna stay where you put me. Do you see? I'm gonna go where I'm led. I'm not gonna stay where people put me. And so there has to be a form of defiance. I wrote this in a play, one of the first plays I ever wrote, as a Christian, and I was a controversial young Christian, because I kept wanting to believe more than what the denomination said. And so they would basically tell me, sit down. And now I'm thinking of musicals, sorry. Okay. But they would, I've constantly over the years, I think, well, I haven't faced the persecution. It's like, well, actually I did, but I was so oblivious to it that it was like, gosh, there's a lot of stuff that people said about me that should have kept me, that I didn't hear. The little bit that I heard did do enough damage. But because I learned, of course, how to do it to myself, how to limit myself, how to believe the lies that I told myself. And then one day it's like the Lord says, well, if you would simply believe me, you only need one source for you. There's only one source for truth. And many people determine at a lower level what that is. But if I have one source for truth, he's also my source for breakthrough. And he's also my source for deliverance. And he's also my source for provision. And he's also my source for imagination. And he's also my source for joy. And on and on it goes. I only have one life source, because I only have one life, one source for life, and that's him. And then I reside in him, which is where my life is. And then he infuses me with himself, so that I get to pop out of the box, if you will, if there is still such a thing, and continue on. And so I think, my friend, one of the things about you is that God puts you here. You think of yourself as very serious, which is why you have me as a friend, because I didn't know I was such an adventurer. And so we get to just go ahead and start exploring. And so one of the things I really appreciate about you is that you don't just sit there with people give you this, oh yes, you're so this and you're so that, and you just say, yep, that's what I am, and you just settle. But you're always seeking to do more. And I know that for you, one of the things that has really been what you quest after is to be better, which is why you want the tough words, why you want the hard questions, why you want to be challenged. Because it's like, people will say, oh, this is great. You're such a, I see Latasha saying that you're an inspiration, which you are. And by the way, Apostle Jack Irving, welcome. And thank you so much for joining us today, too. And you too, Latasha. the thing is that you don't settle for our words. We say, "Oh, sister girl, you are just so this, and we thank you so much." And you say, "Yep, you're welcome," as you're on your way to your next breakthrough. You see, when we grasp that, we won the championship in 2022, and we won the championship in 2023, and we plan to win the championship in 2024, which means that we forgot about 2022 and 2023, and we focus on 24 and 25 and beyond, the exit strategy to move from the victory that we had at this level to know that we're going to go to another level, and we're going to be playing people of a different caliber. And we cannot assume, we can't play the same game. We cannot do the exact same things. We have a strategy, but the strategy, as you said, the opening, the last line, the opening to imagination and growth beyond what you project in your business plan, comes from the part that says the unknown factors of success, that we have made room for them in our planning. We have planned to be more successful than we plan to be, because there are things that are outside of what we plan to be that we do not yet know. But here's what we plan to do. We plan to take it in stride and to grow from it and to expand our horizons and to expand our vision and to continue to be more of things that we didn't know we could be, until we talked to God and discovered, there's another facet to who you are. There's another sparkle here. There's another something. I like to say it this way. There's a song within the song that still has to be written and sung. There is another book inside this book that gets a story to be told. You see, within everything that one person produces is the seed for someone else to begin to cultivate, to bring about a harvest that nobody, the one that did the first part, could not have possibly have come up with the harvest you're going to do. But if we hadn't produced the opportunity for the seed, you would never have been able to do it, but you extract from in order to add to somebody else. So that's what I saw. We've got, we got a little time. We think we have about 10 more minutes, 9 more minutes. So, what would you like to add to that? Because that's what you do. And I'm very proud of you for that, my friend. The
Thank
fact that you're not settling and you're not staying still and you're not waiting for the husband and the this and the this. All that will be added to you because you're going to keep moving and growing and expanding. And hey, do it.
Well, thank you. And yeah, I do celebrate the accomplishments. I celebrate the good feelings. I celebrate and thank God for all those things. But I see holes. I see opportunities. I see people in need. And that bothers me. You know, my nephew's baseball team is trying to raise money for the rings, for their championship rings, which is a huge accomplishment for the team. They don't have the money for that, and they haven't raised enough. And it bothers me that I don't have that money set aside to say, here, you all get your rings. Not only my nephew, the entire team, the coaches, everybody. I'd want to gift them things like that. I see their snack bar unattended, and it's like, where are the high school kids that want to learn how to run a business? Because this snack bar will serve the baseball team and it will serve you for the rest of your life, because I will teach you those skills you need to run a business. And things like that bother me, because it's wasted real estate. It's there, but people aren't there to do it. And I'm not vaccinated, so I'm not allowed in the school or as part of their administration or whatever. I would donate my time to show them how to do things like that. And in other areas, it's like I meet somebody that's like, oh yeah, I've got the store and I've got this, and they're frustrated because they don't have certain things. And that bothers me, that there's not a system in place for them to be able to grow. That because they did whatever, their credit got ruined, and now they're not able to grow because they're limited. That someone was hurt by whomever, and now they seem to have bought into that lie, and now they're not moving forward. So maybe it's part of my, I get labeled as a perfectionist, but it's like, okay, there's all these great things, right? And that's wonderful, but I want to see where are the holes, and let's seal up those holes. Let's find out, okay, what needs to happen, and not just me, but it's like, who are the people that have the skills to be able to do that, and how can we connect them so that they can get that going? Like, I don't want to be in the middle of everything. I don't. But I would love to just, okay, that person knows how to do this one knows how to do that. Okay, connect them, and can you all solve this problem over here? Now we have all these veterans that are committing suicide on a, what is the last statistic I think was every 80 minutes. These are men that are full, men and women, but that are fully equipped to go into war zones and pull people out and save people and do all these phenomenal things. These are people that are like excellent at being able to go in and pull children from sex traffickers and be able to make them, get them arrested, be able to do these things. And they have so many talents, and they haven't been re I don't want to say repurposed, but like they've gone from a known world, and then they come out of the military, and that transition hasn't gone well for them because there's not enough programs in place to get them to see, look, you're important, you have skills, we need you over here. Hey, there's chaos in the middle of the city, would you go in there and force peace? That they have so many skills, but the systems and are not in place for them to transition from one area straight into another. I mean, I could keep going because it's like I start thinking about all these things that could be done.
No, will be done.
Will be done.
Because you're sparking people that are watching this right now. And I want to make sure that your contact information is there so people know. Because see what you just said is like, wait, we can solve this problem because now we're going to start asking the questions, all questions that are, first of all, I will ask a question. Do you want to make a difference? Especially to me, in the lives of our veterans. Do you want to make a difference? Yes, I do. Do you want to stop this suicide thing from happening? Yeah, I do. Do you want to? Yeah, I do. Okay, then there is a how question. The answer, the who question, is going to be through God. um but it's really God is asking the question, who will take up the challenge of what he just spoke through you? Who will say to him, I want in on this, and I want to change a city. I want in on how do I turn these things around with the school, vaccinated or not? Could I do it by Zoom? Is there a way that we can teach, since they were teaching them on Zoom in the first place? Why can't I teach them, even though I can't, you won't let me in because, because I have healing and you don't, or whatever the thing is. Okay. But I want in. If that's a door I'm supposed to go in, okay, let's open it. I've got a key. I have a kingdom key. Let's find the way. Because see, I think that through this particular broadcast, that the Spirit of the Lord was saying, I got questions for you people. What if you would listen to me? How about you came to me and said, I want to do that? Does anybody in all of Christendom, we're not even going to try to get you into whether you admit that you're in the kingdom or not, because I don't know if you are or not. But is there anybody in my family that wants to help me, to work with me, to solve the problems of humanity? Anybody want to solve the problems in their city? Anybody want to get the homeless off the streets for real? And anybody want to fund a baseball team and buy the rings for the championship rings? Who's got the, what is it, $30 or $50? How much are the rings each?
I think like 300.
Okay, so, and there's how many team members?
I don't know, probably like 17.
Okay, my math is not that. Somebody else calculate and tell us what it is. Latasha, you busy typing stuff, so you do the math. Okay, so basically, what you're telling me is it's just a little bit over, maybe $4,000 to $5,000. Anybody got $5,000 to buy some rings for these kids? Anybody want to buy these championship rings because they worked their tails off over the summer and they won? Because if you do, you need to contact this the auntie of one of the team members and let her know, hey, those rings are paid for. They already did the work. Okay. Is there somebody out there that can give this much to it? And I'm not doing a fundraiser. I'm calling for what already belongs to the team. I'm saying that there are people that could do things that just sit around wringing their hands waiting to be asked. Well, God is asking, are you going to answer? Because that's the challenge. I love this. Because you know me, all you have to do is give me me leverage. I'm like, hey, I'm going to do I'm back to getting to my fighting weight, baby. So, we are unstoppable again. So it's like, and I mean, really, this time it's like, well, I stopped last time. Yeah, well, you're not going to stop anymore. We're going to do this. Thank you. $5,100. That's all it takes.
I think they need 13,000 or something.
Well, then,
I haven't looked at the fundraiser yet recently.
listen, 5,100, 5,100, 5,100. For some people, it's like, okay, at the moment, you do have the money. You just don't know where it is. But God does. You see, that's what I'm saying is it's like on the flip the net over, get a fish on the other side, because that's the side everybody's in. That waiting pool is just full of stuff and nothing is edible over there. So take that out and put it over on the other side in the water that's fresh, or it's not considered to be the right side. I'm not a fisher person, so I don't know, but I do understand the principle behind it. We don't do it that way over here. We've always done it this way. It doesn't work for you if you try it over here. It's like, well, we're going to do it anyway. Let's just see what we get. Let's not stop at what you say according to tradition. How about we incorporate ingenuity, imagination, dreams, and the best of it all? How about we be employed by the kingdom to do what we were deployed to do, and let it start happening? I'm just saying, there's no reason why they should not have those rings. And I've been fishing on the wrong side too. It's like, I know someday, no, that someday is here and it's a coming. So, but since it has not all yet arrived, let's get the party started. I'm sending you $100 towards those rings. No, I'm serious. No, look, I went through this summer thing with y'all. You were showing me you driving to Arizona and going here and going there, and every single time your nephew Ricky, that boy was jamming. They get that. Do you hear what I'm saying? No, because I'm not just talking. I will have $100 that I can put toward it. So why wouldn't I?
Thank
Because
you.
I want to get that party started. Do you hear what I'm saying? And if it's already started, it didn't start till I got there. Now the party started. Okay. but do you hear what I'm saying? And thank you, Geneva, the mathematician. Because they matter. And if they hear that they matter to the kingdom,
Yeah.
you were new agey at the time. You're doing crystals and all that other stuff. And yet you called on the Almighty God. Because somehow, even in those days of darkness, you knew that what you had wasn't going to work. It was going to take somebody you did not know, but you had heard of him. And he did what he did. And he said, yep. And look what he got in the bargain. He got you. It was well worth it to him. It's well worth it to me. Okay. Because all I was probably going to do is buy shoes.
Yeah, but if I could share, and I thank you for that, but if I could share, and this goes beyond the rings, right? Because we're having fun with the rings, but it's the exact same thing with the business. It's an exact same thing with anything that God's given you the vision for. He's placed it in your heart. So yes, we have fun with the rings, but it's for anything. It's for being able to find that location for the veterans home. It's the place that where the businesses, the solutions, the housing centers, the children daycares, whatever it is. But is that this is the kind of fun that we get to have in creating with God. Okay, well, he's already created, but in us implementing, okay, how can we do this? Now, who are the people where it's done? Where are they? Where are the corporate funds that are just sitting there and they want to do good because they've already allocated 15% of their budget to help their local communities, but no one's asking for anything. So that's
right. No, that's perfect. And that we actually are out of time for this one, but I believe that you're going to have amazing reports. And I think that Joe should have your contact information. If not, you guys go to the Dominion Unlimited Facebook page because she'll put it there, and you'll be able to contact, especially if you want, more information on the things we're talking about. But the main thing that you were being told today is that God is asking you, what is it that what out of everything he's offering, what do you want to do? And are you willing to let him talk to you and work through you to get her done? because this is not about talk. This is about the walk and the action. And the kingdom has the resources that are necessary to get this thing done. So, yeah, it was about the ring. But as she said, it's opening the school, it's all these other things. And I'm really seriously out of time. And Apostle Baker is coming on to talk about click brain. And, I'm not, I think that's what she's talking about today. I want to thank you, my friend, for coming. Next month, we're going to have praise reports, and I don't doubt it. You all, come on, testify. Let's hear what it is that the Spirit of the Lord is saying to you. And you be motivated, and then go and motivate somebody else. Let's make some stuff happen, because that's what we do in the kingdom. So, y'all got involved. We had a conversation on knowing what is and what is not a kingdom business. Because when we're on this broadcast, we don't just talk and chat. We don't just have mere conversations. We have kingdom conversations. My name's Lindsay Lee. This is Xochitl Rodriguez. I will see you next week. I think it's me and Joe Henry. I'm not really sure, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, we love you very much. And we'll see you next time. Thank you again. Bye.
Thank you for watching Kingdom First TV.